$1,776,000,000 of your money, of my money, pulled out of the Treasury. And what's it earmarked for? A slush fund that the President of the United States gets to dole out to the people that he decides were victims of the legal system. And oh yeah, by the way, the cherry on top of all of this, the IRS has agreed to never audit Donald Trump or his family or his companies ever again. And this dollar figure, the exact dollar figure they chose, that $1.776 billion, 1776, the year of our independence. Get it? Get the big joke? Donald Trump and his personal attorney, the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, sat in a room and decided that the price of looting the United States Treasury should be 1776, a tribute to the American Revolution. And you know, I want to be funny about this. I want to make jokes and roast the orange turd and laugh about how brazen this all is, because sometimes laughter is the only way to get through this nightmare. But right now, I'm pissed. And I hope you're just as angry as I am, because this corruption is so brazen, so naked, so unhidden, that I can't find a single thing funny about it. And if you didn't know the story, Monday, the DOJ, which has essentially been co-opted as Donald Trump's government-sanctioned personal law firm, settled his BS $10 billion lawsuit that Donald Trump filed against his own IRS, who also works for Donald Trump, over the leak of his tax returns back in 2019. Trump was suing the government that he runs. The government he runs settled with him. He shook hands with himself. Those are Chuck Schumer's words, by the way, not mine. And out of that self-handshake walks $1.776 billion of our money into a fund called the Anti-Weaponization Fund to compensate anyone who claims they were a victim of weaponization or lawfare. And your claim will be submitted to a 5-person panel. 4 of those 5 are picked by Todd Blanche. And again, that guy used to be Donald Trump's personal criminal defense attorney and now is the acting Attorney General. And the worst part of this panel, Donald Trump can fire any of the 5 panel members whenever he wants. So when Trump's MAGA buddies file their claims, the panel that gets to decide whether or not they get paid is 4 people that Trump's defense lawyer picked, plus 1 more for spice, I guess. And if any of them get out of line, Trump can just replace them on the spot. And who gets all this bullshit money? Who's eligible to file a claim? Well, if you ask J.D. Vance, who went on CNN with Caitlin Collins, who asked him directly whether the nearly 1,600 January 6th defendants that Trump pardoned could apply, J.D. Vance refused to rule it out. He literally said every single case has its own details. We'll look at every case, case by case.
You previously told me that anyone who assaulted a police officer on January 6th should go to prison. So why not rule out giving them taxpayer-funded money?
Well, Caitlin, what I said is we're going to look at everything case by case.
But why not rule it out?
Because, Caitlin, there are people who I don't know their individual circumstances, and I don't rule things out categorically when I know nothing about a person's individual circumstances.
Translation, yes. The answer is yes. The MAGA mob that beat police officers with flagpoles, smeared literal poop on the walls of the Capitol, the people who hunted Mike Pence through the halls, that mob got pardoned, and now they can submit a claim to the federal government so they can be paid for their inconvenience. With your money. With my money. And what gets to me is how open and obvious all of this is. Because at one point, as Paul Krugman noted, Trump used to hide this type of corruption. Crypto deals, Saudi golf money, stock trades that just happened to coincide with his Truth Social posts. Now, Trump has gotten rid of the middleman. He's just paying himself directly at this point out of the Treasury. Krugman wrote that Trump is now the most explicitly corrupt leader alive on the world stage right now. And I'm going to paraphrase him when he says that Vladimir Putin has stolen billions, but never this brazenly. Even third world dictators try to cover up their corruption. And yet Trump has stopped pretending. And why did the pretending stop? Here's what I can't stop thinking about. We're just a few months away from a midterm election where every poll, including the most recent one from the New York Times, shows Donald Trump's approval at below 40%. New York Times shows it at 36%. Democrats on a generic ballot lead 11 points. Just months away from the election where essentially MAGA is on track to lose the House and maybe even the Senate. And every Republican gerrymander still leaves them short if you do the math. So what did Donald Trump do? He stood up a fund that can pay his most violent supporters out, the ones that have already proved that they would storm the Capitol if he told them the election was stolen. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I want to be very, very clear here, because this is the kind of claim where you've got to be careful. I'm not going to tell you that this is the plan that's written in stone, but I am going to tell you that this is what a plan like this would look like. This is what it would be shaped like. Jamie Raskin called this Trump's private militia. Not me, Jamie Raskin. He's a constitutional law professor, the ranking Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. And he looked at the way this fund is laid out and designed and the people who will be eligible to get paid out of it. And he said that they were a private militia of insurrectionists, rioters, and white supremacists, including those who brutally beat police officers on January 6th. And yes, that was Raskin's words, but man, I cannot help but think that he is exactly right here. So now Donald Trump, between his untrained ICE thugs that are now commonplace in our cities, our airports, at our big events, his bunker, his ballroom bunker that he wants built so he can hide out, all of the executive orders, seizing the voter rolls, the destruction of our postal service, this SAVE Act crap, and now, is he paying a militia? Because it's all adding up to the largest affront to our democratic republic that we have ever seen. And the only people who can stop this are in Congress. And it would take Republicans finally saying enough is enough. Susan Collins, in a hearing this week, looked Todd Blanche in the face and said, this is not how settlements work. You don't fund payouts for claims that haven't been brought yet. AOC said it was outright corruption. Republicans like Brian Fitzpatrick out of Pennsylvania said they don't know how this is legal. And yet, Republicans still voted down a Senate amendment from Ruben Gallego that would have slowed this thing down. They are not holding Trump accountable for anything. They wouldn't hold him accountable for Epstein, so why in the hell would they grow a spine now? And even though they're going to try everything they can do to steal it, we must win in November. I've told you, get your clerks on record. Make them tell you how they're going to make sure that we have a free and fair election, because accountability matters. And as for the piece of garbage in the White House, Donald Trump told reporters about this fund, quote, I didn't do this deal. It was told to me.
It'll all be dependent on a committee. A committee's being set up of very talented people, very highly respected people. I think it's a committee of 5. And again, I didn't do this deal. It was told to me yesterday.
That's such a go-to line from Donald Trump. The deal's in his name. It settles a lawsuit he filed. It uses his tax returns. It pays out to his supporters. And yet he shrugs at reporters. He doesn't care about us. This is, without a doubt, one of the most corrupt acts in our history. Money the president is moving without a vote of Congress to be paid out to people that he chooses on a timeline that just happens to end right before he leaves office. So yeah, I'm angry, and you should be angry too. And the way you channel that anger is you make sure every single person you know is paying attention. Call your reps, tell them what this is, and stop calling it the Anti-Weaponization Fund, because that's the name they gave it. Call it what it is. It's a payoff. It's a fund for political violence. And then you can subscribe and share this story all over the place, because we are going to keep calling this corruption out, because November is not going to be pretty, but we are going to be there every step of the way.